What is up, modelers? This is the SBD Dauntless by Revell. This is a super classic kit that I'm pretty sure most everybody has built or seen in their day. I think you can still even find these at Hobby Lobby if I'm not mistaken. But in any case, I found this kit sealed actually at Oshkosh. So this was a super fun kit and super nostalgic for me, as this is my dad's favorite airplane. Personally, I am not a huge fan of the Dauntless. I particularly think that they are kind of dinky, but unwrapping it was really satisfying. This kit offers a Swedish version, I think, and a US version, which that's what I opted to build. As this is the collection series of the Revell kits that I started a long time ago, and I've been chucking away at these US Navy and US Air Force kits that Revell had produced for so long now. I cannot wait to get to some Tamiya kits again. So the box art is really nice. I think that is classic in my eyes, as I remember as a kid and always wanting that next Revell kit. So that's just me. I remember going to Oshkosh one year and actually getting my first Revell kit, and it was the B-17, and just such a nostalgic type of feeling and purpose, and that's what it all links back to. This kit, as you guys probably know, as you've probably built these before, it's a super nostalgic type of Revell build. Super basic. It's very toy-like. It comes from a monogram kit, so it's one of those builds that you build for fun and you just get it over with, and you're happy with what you get. This kit actually comes with a few different bombs and stuff, and a little tray, and a couple figures as well. The instructions are your typical instructions, but and the decals are your typical decals. These decals are, I don't know what they are, but they work good every single time. I've never had a problem with Revell decals, other than really old Revell kits. Nothing has ever gone wrong, so there's that. The instructions are really nicely laid out, and they're your typical Revell instructions, as I collect those as well. I collect the instructions, I collect the boxes, and I collect the kits as well. So now pulling these little things out, there weren't any loose parts on these packages, as that's really nice, and all the kits were pretty much molded the same. And this is your typical Revell monogram plastic. So it's a little bit of a darker gray. It's very solid. It's not as rigid as some other plastics. The wheels also are in one piece, which is really nice when it comes down to kits like this, so you don't have to deal with any wheel seams or anything like that. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure the propellers are literally all the same. They all have the same exact detail. They're just resized for whichever airplane that goes on them. The wings have really nice raised panel lines and raised detail on them, as some of their kits are a little bit worse than this, so it's not too bad. I really dislike when the motor is not separate from the cowling, but whatever, it offers enough detail to work with, and it's mostly not seen anyways. Because this came in a single wing formation on the bottom there is a high risk of warping and stuff when kits have that issue. So that's one thing to look out for in this kit, but mine didn't end up doing that, but some I know do. Again, there's a lot of nice raised detail on this kit. Now into the instructions. They're really simple to follow and understand. Any beginner modeler is not going to have any issues with building this kit, or understanding what the heck is going on in the instructions, which is really nice. All I had built was Revell kits before, and when I jumped to Tamiya kits, it was honestly almost like reading a different language. There's a lot of things you have to look out for, and you got to know the symbols and stuff in order to not make the wrong move some places. So as you can see a turret there, and the decal versions. In this kit, I honestly don't think it's worth buying this Dauntless. I think there's a lot of better options, but for now, I do a lot of custom interior things to this thing, so let's get right into it. So I fiddle with some wires, and I also put some sheets of styrene. This was taken off of a battery package or something, and I just put it in there for some raised detail in the interior. I got the wire from old servos from RC airplanes and different things that didn't even work anymore electronically, and that seems to work pretty well for me. I can usually find something in my workroom that works for those little detail in areas. I custom built some rudder pedals just for a little bit of added effect for this build. Honestly, I think the interior of this kit looked better than anything else on the kit, so that's just because I'm not a huge fan of the Dauntless. But for what it's worth, I really did have a good time building this kit. As you can see, some knobs and little things on the actual interior of the detail. So compared to other Revell kits, this is honestly even better than most of those. Next, I paint some white nylon tape and I put it onto the model as if they are real seatbelts. This effect worked pretty good as a minor detail. And every step you take to do this process, it just adds another level of realism to it. Then I use a wash to recess into all those nice details and try to make this model a little bit dirty. I kind of just try to make sure that it looks like some dude had farted in it for a while. So once I do that, I then take a brush with some thinner on it and wash it all down to make sure that all the paint wicks into the details. This step accentuates any highlights or shadows or anything like that in the kit that you want to bring out. When it comes down to it, honestly, a little bit of work goes a long ways. Those 2 pieces of styrene literally took 5 minutes and the wires took probably 10 minutes total for this kit. So even just doing that helped a lot. Next, I'm doing a dry brushing silver effect on all the corners and all the nooks and crannies that I can get to accentuate any raised details. This also makes the model look like it was farted in for a while. Nothing like some good old chipping effects to make that happen. Next, I'm able to assemble the rest of the model once the interior is finished. I squeeze the wings together and glue it with Tamiya extra thin cement. This usually works pretty good with some tape and some pressure from my hands. As long as I hold it on there for at least 30 seconds, it should hold together and then put some tape on for the rest of the day. Then I can sand it tomorrow. Any type of tape will work, but I will recommend the higher end blue tapes, as if you buy the cheap Walmart blue tape, it will stick to all the blue goo and also leave a bunch of residue behind. So definitely don't do that. The fit with the wings to the fuselage was really nice, and there wasn't much seam work to do here. As long as you apply constant pressure and nice gluing techniques, you're going to get a good finish with these wings joints. Next, I use some putty filler that is acrylic so that you can just wash it off with water, which is a really good tool to have. Then I can apply the canopy and fill in the seams there. Next, I can glue the canopy to the fuselage using Micro Mark crystal clear glue. And I wipe off any excess with a cotton bud. This is a good way to glue your canopy to the surface, as you can pull it off and it won't ruin any plastic or break at all. It just kind of stretches and stretches and stretches until it finally pulls off. And now I fill in the seams with some putty. I would recommend being a little bit cleaner at this process, as this ruined some tape edges, so I had to retape some things here. So I would just say be a little bit cleaner with this water-based putty and try not to get it on the tape at all, as it will ruin the edges and ruin the stickiness of the tape, so then your canopy isn't going to look as good. But I wipe off any excesses with a cotton swab. I used to buy these cotton swabs. They are pointed at the end and they're a great tool to have, but they're just a little bit too expensive for me now. So I just buy the regular ones and get away with those pretty good. So this kit I built a while ago, and it looks like I detailed different sections of the wing differently, which was actually interesting for me to do. This ensured that I had a unique type of weathering on each part of the model, and it differed in different ways around the whole model, which was nice. I think that's important because it can get a bit drab trying to do the same process every single time. I try to change it up every once in a while. So I highlight all these panel lines with some Vallejo black, making sure to just go around and get all the recessed areas and different types of rivets and stuff like that in a mild type of a pattern or fashion. At this step, it really doesn't have to be perfect, as this kit is gray and most of this will be covered up with gray paint anyways. As long as you're careful on the next step, it's going to be just fine, just squiggling and doing random things. So accentuate your panel lines and then do some modeling in the middle of the panel lines. This really is a good first step to ensuring that the model looks weathered, looks worn in, and looks a little bit sun damaged too. Typically nowadays I actually model with white instead of black like I did here, but this adds another layer of depth to the model, so I really did like doing the black modeling here. I'm using a Posh siphon fed airbrush, and this is a great airbrush that works really good at 25 psi. Using some Vallejo white here, as you can see, it's splotching up on me and spraying all over. So that's just a normal thing you deal with when you deal with Vallejo. Nowadays, I have kind of remedied this problem, and all you have to do is just strain your paint and mix it with Vallejo thinner, and that is the way to go about it. But if you don't have Vallejo thinner, it is okay to use water. I've thinned out Vallejo with water 1,000 times, and there's been no issues with it whatsoever. You have to constantly make sure that it's mixed, and you also have to constantly make sure that your tip isn't dry. But I mean, honestly, it's a good way to go. Next, I paint the base coat of the bottom in light gray. I use some silly putty and some tape to mask off all of the light gray surfaces on the bottom. This blue tape is completely safe to use on any Vallejo paint. I don't know about other paints, but on Vallejo paint it is totally fine to use on. It did not tear off whatsoever on me, and I've used it several times on models and there's never been an issue. All you have to do is just make sure that you pull it off nice and slow, and also have a primer coat and a gloss coat underneath. I then silly putty the rest of the model. Next, I can go in and spray my thin coat of base coat. Now I'm painting these flaps with some red color. I drilled out all the holes in the flaps and it came out a little bit worse than I had expected. I didn't even have a drill at this point. I just used an X-Acto knife, and so all of the holes are a little bit different sizes. That's why I didn't show it. Now I can go on to my final decal stage. These decals are really nice, as I had mentioned before, as they are your standard Revell monogram typical decals. They're really thin and also really malleable. I don't know why I'm having problems with a $100 kit when the $15 kit has better decals in it than any other kit that I've had that's $80. So, you know, that's just one of the things that I gripe about. But next I do a oil wash, and this seems to work out pretty good, as it's really easy to take off this malleable enamel wash. This was at a point in my modeling where I pretty much dipped and dabbed in different colors and put it everywhere on the model to make it look good. I don't know if this was the best way to go about it, but nowadays I kind of do it differently. But back then, it worked pretty good, and this model looks really decent. I wipe off the excess with a paper towel, making sure to get all the grimy parts grimy and get all the non-grimy parts non-grimy. Just doing some very basic streaking methods with this brush, and just trying to get all the really grimy parts out of there to build that contrast and build that oil grease up. The landing gear do go up and down, but I had an issue with one, and one of them broke actually. So on mine they don't, but on yours they could go up and down just fine. With a thin coat of thinner on the model, with it a little bit wet, I opted to put another coat of some oiling on this model just to dirty it up just a bit more. You can do this step as many times as you like, getting your model to exactly the way you want it. It's a very quick process and super easy to do, only takes a couple minutes, and once you have a paper towel dipped in some mineral spirits, then you're good to go to wipe everything off that you need to wipe off, and it just leaves everything nice and grimy and good looking. I do the top of the model in the same fashion, applying some different colors here just to give it a little bit more contrast and maybe a bit more kind of fogginess almost to the model, as if it was sun damaged, or like somebody had walked on it and scraped the paint off just a tad, but I think that was a good way to go about adding some color into this gray scheme. I just do some texturing with a brush around these areas and try to make it look as if it had flown a little bit. This brush is a really used and old dry oil brush, and that tends to work really good for texturing and stuff like that. So I just want to take this time and really thank every single viewer and every single subscriber, as this channel is means a lot to me. Modeling means a lot to me, and I just appreciate sharing it with you guys. So thank you guys for viewing my channel, watching my stuff, and commenting. I really do appreciate every single view, every single modeler out there supporting me. So thank you guys so much, and enjoy this final photo shoot of the SBD Dauntless. This is a super fun build for a quick little weekender, and I had a great time with it. And like I said, it's my dad's favorite airplane, so that's always fun, building your dad's favorite airplane. So thank you guys so much again for watching. Enjoy the photos, and I will see you next time. Let's get back to building.